Your SUV in the driveway right now might already be on a government fire list, and you would have no way of knowing unless you went looking. Not because it crashed, not because it broke down, because it is sitting there, switched off, doing absolutely nothing, and a federal recall notice says that is exactly when it could catch fire. 10 family SUVs that are currently under active Australian recall for this same strange instruction. Do not park this in the garage. Not the Corolla-sized stuff either. Kias, BMWs, a Jaguar, a Volvo, a Mercedes. Real numbers, real court filings, real fires, already reported. Is yours one of them? Let's find out, starting with the one that surprised almost nobody once you hear the number attached to it. Quick thing before we get into it, hit subscribe now. At the top of this list sits Kia, and it is not close. Kia Australia has recalled just over 104,000 vehicles, and the Sportage and Sorento are named directly alongside the Rio, Soul, Cerato, and Carens. The fault lives in the hydraulic control unit that runs the anti-lock brakes. And here is the part that should worry you even if you have never heard the term ABS before. That unit stays live even with the key out of the ignition. Let moisture creep in and it can short circuit, and an engine bay fire can start in a locked parked car while the family asleep inside has no idea anything is wrong. Kia's own instruction is the bluntest wording issued on any recall in this entire investigation. Do not park it near anything flammable, not in a garage. And this is not Kia's first rodeo with this exact fault. The same component dragged Kia Sportage and Stinger models into a separate Australian recall back in 2021, and it kept coming back. Now, there is a class action against Hyundai and Kia running in the Supreme Court of Victoria over these ABS defects specifically. A fault this old, this repeated, ending up in front of a judge is exactly why it opens this list instead of closing it. Jeep is next, and Jeep's problem is that there currently is no fix. Stellantis Australia has recalled 9,199 Wranglers and Gladiators built between 2020 and 2024 over an electric power steering pump connection that can develop high resistance, overheat, and ignite whatever combustible material happens to be nearby. Some drivers noticed it first as a loss of power steering assist. Others got a dashboard warning code before anyone even mentioned fire. The instruction to owners is to park away from structures and other vehicles until the remedy is obtained. And obtained is doing a lot of work in that sentence because Stellantis says the actual repair parts are not expected until somewhere between July and September 2026. That is not a same-week fix. That is months of parking your own SUV outside your own house because the company that built it has not solved the problem yet. BMW shows up twice on this list for two completely different faults, and if you own certain models, both notices could apply to the same car sitting in your driveway. The first covers the X3, X4, and X5, 16,578 vehicles sold between 2020 and 2023, where a starter motor solenoid switch can short internally and, in the worst case, spark a fire. Because BMW shares this engine architecture globally, the same defect swept up nearly 200,000 cars overseas, including roughly 1,500 Toyota Supras built alongside the BMW Z4 on the same production line. One supplier fault, two badges, two continents. The second BMW recall is bigger again. 24,122 BMW and Mini vehicles, spanning the X1 right through to the X6 plus the Mini Countryman, over an exhaust gas recirculation cooler that can leak coolant internally, where it meets hot exhaust gas. The result can be lost engine power and potentially fire while you are driving on the freeway. The warning sign is almost silent. A BMW or Mini that keeps needing coolant topped up with no puddle anywhere underneath it. If that sounds like your car, that is not a wait-and-see situation. Ford's entry here is different from every other name on this list, because Ford is not the one who built the faulty part. The Everest, alongside the Ranger and F-150, has been swept into a recall over ARB Solus driving lights, sold and fitted through Ford's own official accessory program at Ford dealerships. Moisture gets into the wiring harness, corrosion builds, heat follows, and Ford has confirmed one actual fire on a vehicle fitted with these lights at a dealership. Sit with that for a second. The owner who paid extra for the genuine accessory, through the official channel, installed by the manufacturer's own dealer network, is the one now being told to park outside until replacement parts arrive. If you're still with me, that's 5 brands down, and the EVs haven't even started yet. Subscribe now so you don't lose your place, because this next stretch is where it gets worse. Now the EVs and hybrids, and this is where the pattern turns genuinely uncomfortable, because these are the cars marketed specifically on the promise of overnight home charging. Start with the Mercedes-Benz EQA and EQB. A software update went out to fix a battery short circuit risk above 80% charge. Case closed, according to the first letter. Then the current government notice says something very different. Field monitoring has shown the software update does not eliminate the fire risk. That admission is now sitting in a published government document. The instruction today is to cap charging at 80%, park outside, and wait for a physical battery replacement. The first letter said handled. The second letter said we were wrong. The Volvo EX30 might be the starkest number on this entire list. Volvo delivered roughly 3,560 of these to Australian buyers. A second recall notice pushed the affected count to 3,344, later revised down to 3,026 as parts started arriving. That is nearly every single EX30 on Australian roads, recalled, because battery cells from a supplier can overheat under high charge. With no replacement parts in the country when the notice landed, the interim fix was to cap charging at 70%. On a car sold almost entirely on its range figure, a third of that range was simply switched off by government order. The Hyundai Kona Electric sold plenty of Australians on the idea that EV ownership could be effortless. Hyundai Australia has recalled 3,478 of them, built between 2018 and 2023, over battery management software that can allow a short circuit while the car is charging or while it is simply parked. While charging or while parked covers essentially every hour this car spends not moving. The overnight top-up in the garage, the exact habit every EV buying guide told new owners to build, is the routine this recall points directly at. Jaguar's I-Pace was sold as a $100,000 statement about the future of the brand. 368 were recalled after thermal overload issues that could produce smoke or fire from underneath the floor. Then the recall was extended. Then in 2026, another 200 vehicles were added, and there is still no permanent fix. The interim remedy caps the battery below 90% and instructs owners to park outdoors, away from the house and other vehicles, while charging. And the newest name to join this list is Genesis, a brand built almost entirely on the promise of premium reliability. 2,299 GV70, G80, and GV80 vehicles built between 2020 and 2025 have been recalled because a part can come loose and cause a fuel leak, a fire risk on vehicles that, in some driveways, cost more than the house they are parked next to. 10 family SUVs. Different brands, different price points, different technology, one identical instruction running underneath every single notice. This car might not be safe sitting still. If any of these names sound like the vehicle in your driveway right now, here is the 2-minute version. Go to vehiclerecalls.gov.au, the actual government database, and search your rego or your VIN directly. If your car comes up, follow the parking instruction exactly as written, which in this country means away from the house, away from dry grass, and out of the garage regardless of the season. Every repair listed here is free. Book it. Keep the paperwork for your insurer. And if you are buying a used SUV from any of these brands and model years, run the check before the money changes hands and ask for written proof the repair was actually completed. A recalled car with the fix done is a genuinely safe car to own. The uncomfortable truth underneath all 10 of these stories is that the system, on paper, worked. Every manufacturer here found the fault, reported it to the federal government, and is funding the fix, however slowly. The recalls you never hear about are the ones that never get reported at all, And that is the version that should actually worry you more than anything on this list. If this saved you a phone call to the dealership, subscribe. So type the number of the SUV you own in the comments, send this to the one friend who drives one of these, and go run your own plate through that database tonight.